Hello and welcome back to SuperCoach Edge. Now, in our line-by-line analysis, we may have missed a handful of players, so we've had an influx of requests from Liam, the good folk of the SuperCoach Edge community, the good people. You know, the good people.
Those
Yeah, good
people.
people. Not those people, Liam. No, not those people. Not again. The good people. The good people. Not those people. We don't want to get in trouble again. We've only just signed up with Acast, new podcasting platform. We don't want to be ripped down, and by YouTube as well.
Oh,
It's going to be a big like X over your face and like muting our
yeah, we're
audio.
gonna be cancelled.
Yeah, absolutely
Cancel
cancel.
me.
But as I was saying, so the good folk of the Supercoach Edge community, they have sent through a list of players that we did potentially miss that they've asked for our thoughts on. Now, before we get into it, probably should mention as well that since that's happened, and it has happened across the course of the preseason, of course, we've had the intra clubs, the match sims, and then, of course, the official preseason games. And since then, we've been whittling down in terms of the best players to bring into your team. So we had received the likes of Caddy. What's his first name?
Yep.
Nath. Nathan
Yeah,
Caddy.
Nate. Yep, Nate
Nate.
Caddy.
Nate Caddy. Because obviously he hasn't featured at senior level as yet. But there have been guys that like him that just haven't featured or otherwise been injured and the like as well. So those
Like
people
a
we have,
Ridley,
a Ridley, yep, exactly,
a
did his quad yet
Wintager, those
again
sort of guys. Yep.
when Haker broke his hand. So we did receive some requests from those guys, but of course, no longer relevant. But we will, of course, talk about them in season when they are on the cusp of return. So
Yep.
we have whittled down our own list in a way. So we did whittle it down to still the most relevant players. And there are some big players that we actually missed. They slipped through the cracks, Liam, that we will be talking about and looking forward to doing so because there is one, at least, that I think will be featuring in most starting teams.
So today we will be running through those players that you asked for. But before we jump in, I do want to say, actually, no, I'll leave it to the end. We'll leave it to the end. You will find us littered across our social channels, though. Change the segue.
Mm.
Uh, on YouTube, if you search Supercoach Edge, and please don't forget to subscribe so you can be notified of when our content does drop from week to week or midweek to midweek or whenever it might be. On Twitter, you can find us at @supercoach_edge, Damon at DamoJ88, myself at Liam Evans _95, Facebook, Insta, and TikTok. Search Supercoach Edge, and you will find us there.
Very nice. Well, before we get into it, Liam, I should mention as well, another congratulations on your marriage, getting wed. Of course, you didn't use the Supercoach Edge Championship ring, but
No,
it was
I've got
it
an
was a
actual ring.
fantastic. You've got an
I
actual
don't know
ring.
if you
There
can
you go.
see
So
it.
like we're brothers now. Look at this, brothers in arms. We're
Cute.
brothers in law in arms. Um, yeah. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
No,
but no,
thank you. Thank you.
it was a very, very great day, and yeah, it was a pleasure to celebrate with yourself and your lovely now wife, Jacqueline. So no, it was great.
Should be noted mentioned that Peter, our father-in-law, did mention Supercoach Edge in his speech. No, sorry,
Yes.
Supercoach and the podcast didn't originally mention the name, then did give us the shout out, and I did list the socials because I know them off the top of my head while sitting at the private table.
That is true. You did
Don't know
actually
whether
say
we,
that.
don't know whether we got any follows, but it
Yeah.
was purely impromptu.
You watch our listenership and viewership just go through the absolute roof to the moon because off the back of that, you're like, you can find us there, Peter, at
Yeah,
on Twitter.
on Twitter at supercoach_edge.
Yeah. You can find myself at Liam, or just stuff it up. You can find myself at
No, I
DamoJ88.
can do it really well. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, congrats again. But
No,
just thought
thank
I'd
you.
mention that from the top.
Yes.
So, Liam, shall we do it? Shall we get
Well,
into
before
it?
you do, I want to say thank you to
Oh,
all I was going to say this for later,
oh,
but
yes, okay. Might as
I wanted to
well.
say thank you to everyone as well in the comments that did send their congratulations. It was lovely to read. So thank you to the good folk, those people.
Those people. That's still
of
that's passable. Yep, we'll
yeah,
let that
I can
slide.
get past that.
The censorship
Of
won't pick that up.
Supercoach Edge community, or as we've had in the Discord, they're being called edges.
Which is a complete different meaning for those people who are across that of age.
Oh,
Those people not of age, go to Urban Dictionary. You'll find out what it means. But yes, edges are,
Yeah, it means that you follow SuperCoach Edge.
yeah,
That's what
that
it means.
you love Supercoach that much. You're on the edge of, yes. But actually, good segue as well. Let's move on from that. If you haven't joined our Discord, make
Mm,
sure you do. I think we've put the link, we've pinned it in the top of the comments of our most recent videos. So quick fire sort of way to do it. Jump onto YouTube, check out the comment section, click on the link. But we'll put out another link as well across our Twitter/X. And yeah, jump into that because it is flourishing, it's blossoming, Liam, like
it
a
is.
beautiful something.
Flower.
I was thinking of a bunch of flowers. What's the word for a bunch of? Just a bunch?
A bouquet.
That's the one. But you should know of all things, of course, a bouquet. Ah, yes.
No, no,
I did.
I've put all that aside. That's all out of my brain now. Don't need
Yeah,
to know. No,
very
it's
good.
been good. The Discord's picking up.
Mm,
Lots of rate my teams, lots of just
yes.
general banter and comments. It's good. It's good. Lots of fun. Lots of fun.
Yeah, and we've actually we've shut the doors on both of our cash leagues, our 1K cash
Yes.
league. So again, thanks to those people who have jumped in, who by doing so as well have helped support us in their own way. And yeah, can't thank them enough. And hopefully someone in there, especially our OG supporters as well, who have supported
Mm.
us, for 3+ years, hopefully they can win. But nonetheless, anyone that's in there, be very thankful for them to win. And hopefully we don't, Liam. Hopefully we don't. But if we do, like we've said, we're going to be giving everyone prizes like I don't know, Willy Wonka. They'll all
I
get
hope we win.
golden tickets.
To be honest, I hope I win.
Well, I won last year in our
I
cash
hope
league,
the
and
reason
they
I hope I
benefited.
win is because I'm number one at the end of the season overall.
Yeah. Oh, you mean overall, like not
Yeah,
just in
yeah,
terms of the
overall.
keeper
Not
league?
just no, not just in terms of the league. Just
Oh, okay.
gotta be number one overall. I want to win.
Oh, well, you might actually be number one overall, but in the cash
Yeah,
league, it's a different
that'd
kettle of
be my
fish.
luck, wouldn't it be? I would come last in the cash league, but
Yeah. Well,
win
exactly right.
overall.
When I finish, I forget it now, it was 137 or something that I was back in 2019. And I was in like 10 leagues, and I think 8 of them were cash leagues, and I didn't win any of them. I was like, what the hell? Incredible.
Did you
Anyway,
get
we're
into
getting
finals?
sidetracked.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I did get into finals. I did at the very
Okay,
least, but I got knocked
that's the
out the
main thing.
first week. First week, and the other one I think I got through to the prelim, and didn't even win
Okay,
my own cash league. I still haven't won my own cash league, so I have no idea what's happening. But this year's the year, Liam. This year
very
is the year.
unrigged, which is good.
Yeah,
Good to
it's true.
see.
It's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, very very
Intuition.
unrigged. Very unrigged. Exactly, we'll roll with that. Anyway, we're edging the edges as it is because we
Yeah,
haven't gotten
let's
to the
get
episode yet. So let's stop edging and let's get into it.
let's kick off with some defenders. And first up, we do have someone that probably I reckon is sitting in quite a number of teams now. It is
Mm.
Harry Sheezel,
Oh, jeez.
556.2k. 2023 average of 99.5, just below that 100 mark, and only has the single bye playing for North. I forgot what their team was called for a second there.
North.
Sheezel is currently sitting in 38.2% of teams. Jumped onto the scene last year, averaging just under 100 in his debut season, and it looks set to continue. Plays that backline role to absolute perfection. He netted huge points last season with just 7 scores below 100, and one of those scores was a 98. So absolutely killed it. The
Mm.
role looks set to continue in 2024, especially during the preseason. He smashed out 38 disposals in the match sim against Collingwood, and in the official preseason matchup against the Saints, he batted up with a score of 102.
Mm.
So very nice. I think the departure of both Hall and Zeeble means that there's less options that are going to tramp his style in that back line. The issue, though, is obviously the recruitment of Zach Fisher, which may throw
Mm.
in some spanners into the work, I guess.
Mm.
But didn't seem to affect him too much. I mean, Fisher went nuts as well. Scored 102, a bit low, but I think it'll be okay. I think Sheezel will come good. Damon, what's your verdict on Sheezel?
Yeah, so actually just having a quick look as well, that his ownership has actually gone up, and it's up to 41%.
Yeah,
So it's
wow.
growing. It's growing by the day. It's incredible. So it just shows how much people are keen on him, like us, Liam. I think, am I
Yeah.
right in saying that
He's
you've
in
got him
my
in your
side,
team?
yeah.
Yep, as he is in mine. So I'm actually surprised as well that off the back of, obviously we're recording this after the official preseason games, which we must mention from the top that we will be doing a bit of a review on
Mm,
in a subsequent episode. But off the back of Fisher's performance, as you mentioned there, potentially maybe cramping style of McKercher or himself, he actually scored a 132 Fisher off
yeah.
36 disposals. Just very piggish of the old fish. So I don't know. I thought there might be people that might be a bit scared about SHEEZEL, but I think I'm pretty confident he's going to finish in the top six. So for me, off the back of that alone, he is in my team locked and loaded. And aside from that, he's going to be pushed into the midfield, maybe at various stages if they need
Yeah.
to. But I think there's enough ball to go around. Like in the past, as you mentioned, Zeeble, Hall, and SHEEZEL were all playing in the same side at various stages as well. So I think it'll be fine. Someone may need to be playing accountable at various stages, but I don't think it's going to be Shees.
I tend to agree. I think looking at it, I'm probably not as sold on him as a lock. He's almost a lock.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not throwing away the key just yet. The key's still in the
Yeah,
lock, I'm gonna say. Um,
you haven't
not very
pulled it out
secure.
yet.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
quite so
actually,
secure.
got to bring the props back this season. This is a new prop as well, the old
Oh,
lock,
this here we go.
and now it's going on SHEEZEL for me. But
Okay,
yes,
it's not quite on
continue.
Sheezel for me. Not. I think the one thing that I will take away from this is the fact that he scored 102 and Fisher scored 130. Like they both managed to score well. It's not like one scored a 60 and the other scored 130. They
Yeah,
both managed to ton up. And I think that's the positive for me. It makes me feel a little bit less concerned. Look, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Fisher's going to have to find a way. I'm going to find a way to get Fisher into my side probably. But Sheasel should be there come round one.
well, I've got a an old fish on the end of my fishing line. He's well and truly in my team. Unfortunately, it pains me to say because I was trying to avoid it, but he's very much unavoidable now given that performance. But nonetheless, we'll keep an eye on things, of course, just in terms of the structure of our teams and if you can stay in there because there are things to move around come round zero or the opening round. But let's move on to another player in the midfield this time, and it's from your mob, Liam. It
Yes.
is Zachariah, or is it Zachary? Merritt, 650.1K. I'll let you ponder that. His average in 2023 is 116.3. Only has the one bye, which of course is good. But of course, last year he did show that he's more than capable of scoring, quite well. He finished the season as the ninth best player overall, and his preseason game against the Cats did show his ability to score. Of course, cruising to a score of 111 from 25 disposals at 88% disposal efficiency. And we've seen in seasons gone, I guess the consistent trend with Merritt is that he does tend to start slowly, and then after the bye, picks up his scoring and just goes to another level, just to the moon. That's the time to jump on him. And his average increases post bye overall. Liam, I'm going to throw it to you in terms of the verdict. First up, being a Dons man, what are you thinking in terms of whether or not you'd start him? Are you keen? Are you tempted?
I'm not starting him, but I don't mind starting him. Like it's more so I'm not starting him because I think there's other players and I want to start before him. Um, but I think by the end of the season he'll be in my side. I mean, I'm looking at last season. So he
Mm,
scored pre-bye, he averaged 112. So the week before the bye, so in the
yep.
week of the bye, his average is 112. By the end of the season, he was averaging 116.3. So he
Yeah,
increased his
well.
average obviously quite substantially in the back half of the season.
Mm,
Now, I mean, a 112 average, that's not shabby in the slightest. So if you did pick him
mm.
up now and hold him from the whole season, I don't think there's any harm there. It's just the fact that he's probably not fitting into my side right now. But I think if you pick him, there's absolutely no concern there. Like I don't think he's a bad pick is what I'm trying to say. It's just not a pick I'll be making at this stage.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever started with Merritt in recent seasons because he's always just had that trend about him. And who knows, this may be the season where he just has to, it has to happen sometime, I think, where he bucks that trend and starts well and fires throughout the entire season. I don't know what it's going to take, but I don't know, you might know more than me in terms of the fixture. Is there anything in that potentially we could read into, or is it just a case of,
Looking
I mean,
at his fixture this year, plays Hawthorn, Sydney, St Kilda, Port Adelaide, Western
a mixed
Bulldogs,
bag?
Adelaide, Collingwood, West Coast, GWS, North, Richmond, Gold Coast, and Carlton before the bye. I actually
Yeah,
don't think there's any issue. Like I don't think there's an issue with starting him. It's a weird thing. I think where it's just I want to pick him up a bit later. So like looking
yeah,
at him last season, he was priced at to start the season. He was priced at 617K. At his lowest, he got down to 564 in round 9.
yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So potentially you could pick him up maybe 600K
Mm,
before the buys, and then get him in. But because he's going to
yeah.
have to maintain an average of 116.3 to hold his
Mm,
price.
yeah. True.
So
That's kind of
that's
been
probably
his
the biggest
undoing.
concern. That's his undoing is the fact that he probably comes out for the end of the season and averages 116
Yeah.
by going monster in the second half.
Mm,
But yeah, so that's probably my only concern. That's the only reason I'm not starting him is that he normally doesn't do as well at the start, but I don't think it's a bad pick. I think you just get him a little bit cheaper later on.
yep. No, totally agree there. I'll be doing likewise and watching from afar and licking my lips, hoping that he drops in price. But Liam, who have we got up next in the midfield?
In the midfield, we have Riley Bonner, priced at 284.5K. He averaged 50.9 in 2023. And he only has the single buy playing for, St Kilda now. So obviously moved across from Port over the off-season, and he really has come into contention off a strong showing in his match sim against the Dons when he was off half-back. Should be noted, though, Jack Sinclair was missing from that game. So in terms of his stats for the preseason match against North, he did score 127 Supercoach points. So a good showing. Again, got to keep in mind, Sinclair was not in the side.
Mm,
I don't
yep.
know. Anyway, this is also his ninth season in the big league. He's managed averages of 76.2 in 2022 from 16 games. That's his highest, I think. While he'd be playing an attacking role from the back line, the question will be whether he has a strong enough role to score well with both Jack Sinclair and Nasiah Wanganeen Malira also in the side. And with the two of them, whether he is defensive enough. Like he's that's probably been the biggest concern that Port people have always had with him is the defensive side of his game.
Mm,
Is he going to be able to get away with that in a Ross Lyon side? Does he get dropped? Like, I know you're not probably bringing him in for that, but yeah, I'm not sure. At this stage, for me, probably a pass. If we had seen him with Sinclair, I would feel much more comfortable. I think at the price point of 284, I think he's too highly priced compared to some of the rookies that we've got on options that will probably score maybe not as well, but will generate more cash and is probably not highly enough priced to be a genuine mid-pricer who's going to score really well
mm,
consistently. I think there's less speculative picks on offer, purely because there's more people taking them, so you're not going to be hurt as much. Maybe if you want to play the pod game, maybe here's an option. Uh, but for me, I'd probably look elsewhere. Um, I'd probably rather pick him up later if I'm proved wrong,
mm.
with a bit more of an understanding of his role than to get him now.
Yeah. No, I totally agree as well. Like he's at that awkward price point, isn't he? That, as you say, you always, when you're looking at a player, you've got to weigh it up in terms of the other options around them. And I think in terms of cash cows, around him that are cheaper, I think their output and looking at them as purely a cash cow, I don't think by any
Mm,
stretch, and it's going to surprise me and blow me away. I'd probably eat this hat if Bonner ends up becoming an absolute keeper. Of course, he's as a midfielder should get defensive DPP considering he's playing in defense, but I don't think he's going to be a top scorer or averager across either the midfield or defense. So, you're picking Riley Bonner to be, a bit of a stepping stone to, a genuine primo. And I just think, you know, in terms of riding him as a cash cow, there's guys like Darcy Wilson, Hustwaite, who from the Hawks, youngster,
Mhm.
who's cheaper by 100K. Riley Sanders, who, you know, everyone's pretty much starting, but, you know, McKercher, all these guys that I think their output can pretty much, you know, averaging out, could potentially match Bonner at his peak. And I think the score that he punched out against the Roos is a little bit deceiving. I don't think he can handle that week after week. And then with, you know, as you say, Sinclair being out of the team, surely when Sinclair comes back, you know, he's just warming the seat for Sinclair. Similar to, you know, what we've seen with D'Ambrosio, for example, at Hawthorn in the practice game, the unofficial one. D'Ambrosio came out and smashed it. Amon wasn't playing. And then when Amon came back in, D'Ambrosio was pushed more up to the wing. So, you know, you got to kind of look at it from the perspective, okay, well, are they playing with the best 23 players in the team? And if they're not, well, you got to look at, okay, well, will things change in terms of a role and output, if, you know, they're sort of minding a role or a spot for a player that's out injured or suspended or whatnot. So for me, weighing it up, I think I'd much prefer to save 100K and pay for Hustwaite, using him as an example,
Yeah.
you know, as a cash cow perspective. And if it comes to pass, Bonner may potentially average more, but again, it's less risk going for a guy that's 100K cheaper who could end up being, you know, a similar cash cow, if not better. So that's kind of what I'm weighing it up.
They might not average the same, but
Yeah.
it's not the average that you're looking at. It's the money they're making because that's what at the end of the
Mm.
day those players are doing. And
Yep.
the other thing you got to factor in is that extra 100K, where does that go? So
Mm.
you probably have to restructure your side to get a Bonner in.
Yep.
Um, like for me, looking at it, I either have to give up a McKercher, a Sanders, or a Huswaite,
Mm.
or I'd have to get rid of a Martin or an Amon or someone like that, where I'm then
Yep.
it's a completely different player. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's
And
so
I
yeah, I think
think,
that's another thing to consider. Yeah.
and like FYFE, I guess, is around about that price as well.
Mm,
And I think there's only so many guys at awkward price points that you can afford to take a risk on, just because
yeah.
it ties up too much of your bank, that you can be using elsewhere to, you know, potentially make a jump up to, you know, using me as an example, I've now got Took Miller in my team, and I use that excess money that I got from trading Fife out, who's a similar price point as Bonner. So it's applicable, but trading Fife out, or, you know, not picking him anymore, allowed me that extra 100K by downgrading Fife to Hustwaite to then afford Took Miller in my team. So I see Took Miller as a keeper. And I think to start with a keeper makes more sense as opposed to going with a speculative pick like a Fife or a Bonner, at that higher price point, because I just view them as a cash cow virtually.
And like Bonner's 4.7% owned at this stage, obviously.
Mm,
So if he doesn't come off, that's the risk. You
mm,
look at a five, similar price point, and this is not that I'm saying you should start five, but he's 51.3% owned. So the
mm.
risk on a five is so much lower than a
Yeah.
Bonner if you're starting one or the other. The other thing is Fife is a mid forward, so you've got the flexibility to move in between the two. Bonner,
Mm,
I know he'll get defensive DPP, but at this stage, he's only a midfielder, so he's going to be taking up a spot. And at that price point, you can't have him on the bench.
mm.
Like, I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right for me at this stage. But
Yeah.
I mean, like again, I'd be happy to eat my words later on, but it's not the pick for me.
And I think it's just so hard as well to pivot. I mean, you could potentially, if he doesn't come off in the early rounds, you could pivot to another rookie, by downgrading him, sure. And people are using that justification for Fife as well, which is totally fine. But I think there's more, like, if you've already stocked up on the best cash cows, and Bonner doesn't come off, it's like, okay, well, where do you go to from here type thing? Do you sideways to a Fife, or if you haven't got him? Or do you have cash in the bank to then upgrade him? You probably don't, because you need an extra 150K to get him to like you know, a Nick Martin, for example, if you wanted to still go
I think it
speculative.
really comes down to who you're forgoing to get him in.
Mm. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if
good point.
you're not bringing if it's like if you're not bringing in five, if it's a five versus him, yeah, okay, maybe I can see that. Like
Yeah.
both are speculative, at least as a pod, you potentially can climb the ranks quicker because he's a pod if he turns out.
Mm.
And if he doesn't, and Fife is the one to pick, then easy swap. But if you're forgoing a McKercher or a Sanders or a Huswaite, and they turn out to be one of the cash cows that you need,
Mm,
then that's the risk. But as you said, if you already own, like, I just think it comes down to who you're missing as a
yeah.
result.
Whose spot they're taking, all
Yeah,
that sort of stuff,
yeah.
which is kind of a little bit of a squeeze at the moment, I think, in the midfield because there's so many guys. Max Holmes as
So much
well as another
value.
one that
Yeah.
hasn't been on the radar. And yeah, so much value that you need to invest in it because you obviously can't just go, well, you could if you wanted to go, primos and rookies, guns and rookies, but I think with so much value, and guys that look like not just value or speculative picks, but guys that are going into new roles like a Nick Martin, all that sort of stuff. And James Jordan, for example, at Sydney had a really
Yeah.
good game. Opportunities even opened up even more because Taylor Adams is now injured, so on and so forth. Parker's injured. So, there's guys there that you're willing to take the risk on. And, you made the good point about Fife as well. Higher ownership, less risk. It's kind of offset by the extreme ownership. So yeah,
Yeah.
something to weigh up and keep in mind.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, let's move on to the forwards. It was a good discussion there on Bonner. I think it's warranted as well because a lot of people are considering him, and it's either like I've seen both sides of the camp, and it's like yes, extreme, no extreme. There's very few people that I see on the fence for him. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where people go. Well, let's move on to forwards, and we have a request here. Not someone that we've considered either of us, but it is Shea Bolton, 540.7K as a mid forward. So there is obviously interest in Bolton as he did have an average of 96.7, and it could see him finish as potentially the top 10 forward in 2024 if that is the case. As we know, it's just so shallow in terms of the depth of quality in the forward line. So it is worth talking about Bolton in this respect here. And his match sim game saw him split time between the middle and forward, attending 13 of 34 CBAs for the match, and does have a strong ceiling in 2023 as he flashed scores of 158, 152, 151, 141, 139, 120, and 120, which, geez, in isolation sounds really good. And we're like, we should lock and
Mm.
load. But they were his 7 high scores in 2023. But equally, he can end up with scores on the other end of the spectrum of just 50, 54, and 56. And he managed a score of 88, but attended 7 CBAs for the, what are they calling it? Practice
The
game, preseason
pre-match
game?
practice scene. Yes.
Yep.
I don't know what they call
Which
it
was
anymore.
the Amy something
Community
series.
series.
Community series, yes, community. It's all about the community. So inclusive is the AFL. I say that sarcastically. And it was the fourth most CBAs of the mids at the Tigers with 7 CBAs. So I think all in all, there's so much that's been spoken about just in terms of the verdict here, but so much has been spoken about his role, and they've pretty much said that he's going to be a forward predominantly. And if that's the case, I think it just really puts a ceiling on how much he can score. Or, another way of looking at it is a cap on his ceiling. So his highest scores kind of decreased compared to what they were potentially in 2023. So that combined with the fact that his scoring traditionally has been high variance, a lot of high scores, a lot of low scores as well, which, if you're in head-to-head leagues, are the absolute devil because they can come back to bite you on the ass and you want someone
Yeah.
consistent. But having said all that, because the forward line is so shallow, he may be one that turns out to be a top 6 forward,
Mm.
which is a funny thing to say, having said all those negative things about him, such as the season in 2024. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think for me, he will be a top 10 or top 6 forward, but I think you can fade him purely because I think you'll pick him up cheaper. Just the volatility in his scoring
Mm,
is so much that I think but he could get on a tear at the start and make him. I don't think you'll ever get him at a price where he's unachievable to get
yeah,
because as we've seen, he scores a 51 week and it drops down massively. So yeah, I think you'll be able to pick him up cheaper at some stage. I don't think he'll become unachievable. So I think for me, I'd rather wait and invest my dollars elsewhere at this stage. I think there's better places to invest your money than the forward
mm,
line at this stage of the season,
yeah.
in this preseason.
Yeah, that's a good summary, I think. And part of the reason why, unfortunately, I'm giving an insight into my team here, but I've culled Stupid Sexy Flanders. Even though I think he's going to be the F1, which is stupid to say, considering I'm not starting him. But I think, as you say, there's so much value around, and
Mm.
you've got to take the risk and yeah, help out my team elsewhere. But yeah, just with Bolton as well. So 2023 started the season and priced at 480.8K, finished priced at 511.3K, but dipped as low as 423.6K.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to get him at the very least around about his same starting price, I think, in season. So no need to start him, and I don't think he's going to elevate his game to the next level, considering he's going to be playing by reports more time up forward.
No, agree with you there. Let's move on to the next guy, and it is Toby Green, priced at 508.6K, averaged 91 in 2023 and has the two buys. So the Giants captain is actually owned by 14.1% of the competition at this stage after top scoring for the Giants in their matchup against the Suns with a score of 124. Comes from booting 3 goals, three, with 14 kicks, 5 marks, 5 handballs, and the 2 tackles. He didn't attend any CBA, so his scoring will obviously really depend and rely on his ability to win the ball in the forward half and probably be reliant on his goal kicking as well. He is that dynamic kind of player that can win the ball, win matches, so that will help him in Supercoach. And he does have a history of decent averages across his career. He has averaged above 90 in 7 seasons, so not unlikely that he does finish as a top forward this year. Again, like Bolton, though, and it's going to be the same for any predominant forward player. He's going to have volatility in his scoring. So 2023, his highest score was 121 and his lowest score was 40. So you're going to get both ends of the scale. That being said, he does have a favourable start to the season in 2024, facing both North and the Eagles
Mm.
before his early bye in round 3. To me, I think I can see why he appeals, but yeah, probably not for me. Again, I think I'm
Yeah,
going to say this with all forward primos.
yeah,
There's just so much value there, and we're so unsure about what's going to happen. I'd rather invest the money into my backline or into my midfield, where I think there's more of a
assurance
different type
of
of
like,
value. Yeah,
mm,
a different type of value. I think in the forwards we're going to be looking at cheap value,
mm,
like more like playing cash cows
yeah,
as opposed to fallen primos.
mm,
Whereas in some of the other across the other sides of the field, you're probably looking at like a mid-pricer who might become a keeper
mm.
or some of those. Yeah, I just think it's different. It's a different type of value.
Yeah, I agree. Like in terms of my team, for example, and that's the thing as well. Like just speaking to the forward line and why there's so much value there. It's so scary looking at it in isolation. Like I got Fisher at F1, and I'm like, I'd never go like any season. I'd never go into a season without at least a primo in any given
Forward in
line.
any line, yeah.
Yeah, but like just breaking down, I won't reveal how my team is yet because no doubt it'll change. But like in defense, that's probably the one thing that's been a consistent or a constant, I guess, across all iterations of my team. And then I've had at least 2 primos, if not 3. And now I'm actually settled on 4 primos. So I've gone actually pretty
Mm.
deep in defense, which I've never done before. But just because I'm so confident in the 4 primos that I've got being within the top 6, if not top 8, averaging defenders come the end of the year. And then the midfield I've gone. So that's kind of like, I guess you call like guns and rookies in defense in the midfield. I've gone with, guns, little smattering of mid-pricer, then rookies, and then the forward line's just mid-pricer madness. But if you average it out across your entire team,
Mm.
it's just the case that all the mid-pricers and rookies are centralized in that one line, so it looks scary.
Yeah.
But if you average it out, spread out those players, it's not too bad. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. And I think just in relation to Green, again, I don't. If I was going to start with Green, I might as well start with good old stupid sexy. And I'd be
Yeah.
missing out on some of the value, I think, like a James Jordan or a Zach Fisher. So that's part of the reason. Nothing against Green. He may finish as a top 6 to 8 forward. But yeah, don't think starting with him is really going to be conducive to my lineup and structure.
No, agreed.
Well, let's move on to our Next player, and it is Jezza Cameron. He's been popping up here and there. People have been asking about him, but thought we'd cover it up. Priced at 462.7K, 2023 average of 82.8, and only has the one bye. And we've said it a lot, but we normally shy away from the key position forwards and key position defenders, and the rule still stands. But with Cameron, though, I think he's probably the one player that we'd sort of break our long-standing rule for potentially,
Yeah.
and he's no doubt still one to consider. If we count for his injury-affected score in 2023, his average is 87.3. So it's not quite what you'd want for a keeper in the forward line. And there is a chance that he can be better than his 2023 average this season, though his best average was way back in 2019 when he averaged a 92.8. So again, maybe this season may put him up there within that top 6 to 8 range. But again, I don't know. I don't know what it is with the Cats, but I think just with they're kind of at a stage where they're turning over their midfield as well.
Yeah.
They're losing stars. Dangerfield's playing more on the forward line. And Jezza, he's not the traditional forward that's relying upon, the midfield kicking those entries into the forward line to him. He can push up the ground. He's kind of like a bit of a hybrid midfielder forward. But I think nonetheless, I'm not so much a fan of Jezza, and especially going back to that point that we've been rabbiting on about in terms of starting, I don't think he is one to start.
Agreed. At his price point, you're starting him as a keeper. He's not a cash cow.
Yeah.
He's not going to make cash. He could get on a tear early or at some stage, and it's worth getting him in to ride him with the extra trades we've got. But I don't think it's going to be worth it. He's not really a pick for me. I think of the two, there's two key position forwards I'd consider. It's him and probably Curnow. But still, nah, I don't know. I just don't think it works. There's again, it's volatility. It's even more volatility than a Bolton or a Greene. Like it's going to be more than that because those two can push into the midfield. Whereas, I mean, Cameron can push into the midfield, but it's unlikely he's going to get, CBAs and players like a traditional midfielder where he can get points from that. So I think it's too reliant on, and I think with the Cats, they're turning, as you said, they're turning over the midfield and it probably affects him a little bit. So no, don't pick him, please, is my answer. Moving on to the next guy, and it is Jade Gresham, 373.2K, 2023 average of 66.8, and only has the one bye playing for the Dons. And he is starting the season with a move from the Saints across to my mub in the Dons. So, like all forwards, I feel like there's a trend here. His volatility is his biggest concern. Top scores of 1, 10, and 100, and low scores of 17, 29, 37, and 40 mean that you're going to live by the sword and you will also die by the sword because it's going to hurt you both ways. It's going to hurt you one way.
Yeah.
His preseason score of 69 came from 14 disposals, 2 goals, 2 behinds at 66% time on ground. Didn't feature in any CBAs during the match, though did roll up higher during the match and play sort of as a high sort of half forward, I guess, across the match. I think that's the role we'll see. Yeah, and at an ownership of 1.1% is a very risky pod, especially at 373.2K. There's better value elsewhere if he doesn't come off. So in terms of my verdict, going to keep it straightforward. Don't think there's any reason to justify picking him in your side. I don't think he's coming to the Dons in a new role. Like, I don't think there's an increase in mid-time. I don't think there's an increase in a reason why he's going to score more. So I think it's just going to get the same thing in a different side, potentially. So, I mean, there might be a slight bump just being in a new club, but I don't think there's going to be anything worth picking him for. Better options at lower prices, better options at slightly higher prices, definitely not at the 373K mark, though. So do not pick him.
Yep, 100%. Just for context as well, for an extra 5.4K, you'll be able to afford Zach Fisher. So
exactly.
There we go.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be considering Gresham, as you said, doesn't tick the box in terms of being a keeper, 100% no. And he doesn't tick the box as being a stepping stone. He's not going to make you any cash because he's not going to increase his average enough to increase in price point for you to then trade him in and make enough bank. It's just not possible. So don't even consider him, whatever. Yeah, go for the likes of a cheaper option in James Jordan, Jack Billings, Fisher, Reed, all those sort of guys. So,
Mm,
yep, that's pretty much the definitive no-go zone, no deal when it comes
no
to
deal.
Gresham. But
All
no
right,
deal,
Grant.
Liam, or O'Keefe,
What
who's
happened to him?
he
Oh
fell off the
no.
wagon, the
Did
poor
he
bloke.
did
He
he get
fell.
cancelled? Did he
He
say
got.
those people?
He said more than those people. He
Oh
was
no.
heavily into drugs,
Oh
and
really?
yeah, a lot of stuff. Like, yeah, there's a
Okay.
few. I won't delve into it, but yeah, he's had
Okay,
a
sorry,
few
yes. Let's not delve
criminal
into it.
things. But yeah, just it's so funny seeing. Just sorry, just a quick minor like footnote. It's so amazing to see. Like, grew up obviously watching Deal or No Deal. He used to love it back in
Yeah.
the day, and he was so charismatic and looked like a really nice guy. And then I remember the video
And
came out where
like,
he was just shit faced on like in the gutter, and he was like
yeah.
abusing someone. I don't know if you remember that.
Wow. No.
And then yeah, then it came out and he was fine, whatever. And then yeah, battling with drugs and got caught up in some crime and whatnot. And yeah, he's
Yeah, you
apparently
wouldn't
on the straight and
expect it.
narrow now. But yeah, yeah, exactly right. That's the
Because he
thing.
looks like it's gonna sound real stupid, but like he looks so clean cut, like on
Yes.
Deal or No Deal. Obviously, like that's how they're gonna make him look. But like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so
wow.
smiley and like
Yeah, so
charismatic
like
and
happy,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. I just imagine
Oh,
like as
that's
soon as
not
the
good.
cameras turned off, he was just like, give me my hit. Where's my powder? And they're
Yeah,
like,
wow.
powder for your face, Mr. O'Keefe? You've already got powder on your face. No, the powder. Anyway, let's move on
This
to
is
the to the next
taking a
option.
turn.
And I probably did question myself whether or not I was on the wacky tobacco because, as I've
Wacky
always
tobacco.
said, this bloke will never set foot in my side ever again. And it lasted a whole part of the preseason. That's Nat Fife. So he made his way into my team, begrudgingly so, because there are no other options, Liam. And I know what it sounds like
Yeah,
that
yeah, no other options. All right.
that I said
What he always says.
I'd never, it's kind of like Taylor Swift. We're never ever going to get back together. And that's what I was
Oh, there
saying
you
to
go.
Fifey. And then next minute I wake up and there he is. He's in my team. Not in my bed, thankfully, but in my team. And I was like, how did you get there? And yeah, I was crying. I was in the shower and it's just crying myself, crying myself to
I'm waiting for you to bring in another Taylor Swift reference. Come on.
no, I'm not. No, I was actually thinking of Ace Ventura when he's which of course is a film that would be cancelled nowadays because he finds out that the detective is actually a former male NFL athlete, and he finds out that he's actually kissed her, and he ends up burning all of his clothes, and he ends up jumping in the shower and like crying in the corner of the shower. Because he's kissed a man. He's like, she's a man. Anyway, that's kind of what I was like, but with Fife, and I was like, he's in my team. And I was just huddled in the corner. Incredible scenes. But anyway, this man, Nat Fife, he's in a lot of teams, as you mentioned earlier. In what,
Mm.
51%, did you say
Yeah, it was
currently?
51%. Yeah.
Incredible. 51%. What are people doing?
Too
What was I
many.
doing? But he's not in my team anymore because I found the Messiah, the next hot thing that walked past me, you know, that the old meme looking over the shoulder as I was being led away by Fife. And then I saw this man in Husthwaite walk past and I was like, nah, see you, Fifey. So he's out of my team. But Nat Fife, he's at a juicy price, thereabouts, 283.2K as a mid forward, 2023 average, 50.7. Doesn't have the double buy. Liam, what can we say about this guy? Oh boy. So he's enticed us with his showing in both of his preseason matches. He managed to score 72 from 75% time on ground with 19 CBAs, the second most of all Freo players against the power. 18 of his 26 disposals, however, were handballs, which will limit, of course, his ability to score well. Though at sub 300K, here we go again, Liam, talking ourselves into him. He just needs a couple of good scores to make cash and move him on. Have I heard this before? Because those words came out of my mouth this time last year. And I started him, lasted a whole round, got injured, and then was out of my team. Didn't even last one cash rise. But still, then again, what if he scores well enough, Liam, to make us
What
cash?
if?
What
What
if?
if?
Hmm. Verdict, Liam. Thoughts from you? Someone else who's been burned across the seasons. And of course, it's funny as well that we actually mention him here because people are like, why haven't you mentioned Fife? Because we've got mental scars. That's why.
His emotional damage.
Exactly. Literally emotional damage. You might have noticed previous episodes. I refuse to mention his name. That's how far
Uh,
he's delved into my psyche and, fiddled with the wires in my brain. So it's not good. But Liam, is he good for you? Is he still in your team?
I don't think actually. Oh, is he still on my team?
Oh my Lord.
I don't reckon. I don't even think. I'm not even sure he made it into my side.
Oh,
If
I
I'm
could
honest,
one better than me. You're one better than
potentially,
me.
I could be wrong. I can't remember. My forward line's been. No, he's currently in my forward line. So yes, he did make it into my
Of course
side.
he is. Of course he is. I saw the
He's in
light
my side.
now.
Yeah. No, he's currently in my side because I swapped him out. I'm swapping. I'm just playing around with it. He won't be in my side. I will put. I will guarantee you that.
That's what I
I
said.
will guarantee you that. I get it. It's a tough one. He's got high ownership
Mm,
at 51%. Negates the risk if he does get injured early, or if the role doesn't eventuate, or if he
mm,
can't score, or whatever happens. But equally, could be a really good anti-pod for those that choose not to start him and he gets injured early and someone makes a trade because now you're one
mm.
trade up on the rest of the competition.
Yeah.
I think I'm starting enough guys around his price point that if one of them fails, I'm comfortable enough trading to him if he takes off. I'm
Yep.
not as comfortable starting him because I know if I start him, he'll be shit.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable enough knowing that. I've been burnt before. I'm not going back there. My therapist has told me this. Take their advice. We don't repeat past mistakes.
Do we though?
Look,
Oh, I
you know
do.
what? I'm going to say I think we should all take Fife's advice. Someone literally asked
Oh,
him
yes.
on the sidelines, should we pick you in fantasy? And he was like, nah,
Yeah.
maybe. Not sure.
Yeah.
I'm
But the
taking
man
that
himself.
advice.
Yeah.
Even he doesn't have faith in himself.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it?
No,
That's
it's no dimmer being like, get Flanders into your super coach side.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, spot on. Exactly right. Um, but yeah, made a good point there. Like we were kind of, which everyone has, like tried to weigh it up and being like, okay, well, look at the positives. This season is like no other. We got best 18 in the early rounds as well. So if he does get injured, he scores shit.
Oh, yeah.
At least there's a chance there that his score falls out of your best 18. And by fair chance that it does. And then outside of that is, yes, there's extra trades, all that sort of stuff as well, which I don't really buy into, but it's the high ownership that's the big thing as well that does negate the risk. And, if he doesn't pay off, then at least, 51% of the competition is in the same boat as you and has to potentially use a trade. But again, the 49% of the competition that don't have him, you're automatically getting a nice leg up there. If he does get injured, or if, come in season, when things start to heat up, that maybe he doesn't get the CBAs that he got in the preseason. Maybe he spends more time up forward. But I think aside from that, as we've seen, like he's going to get highly rotated. I think as well. He can't play a full game in the midfield. It's just you see the way that he runs as well. Like he is so slow around the ground. Even at the contest, he has to rely upon hence the reason why he's handballing so much. Has to rely upon pretty much getting the ball, standing where he is, taking a couple of steps, handballing to someone else because he doesn't have the run and dash to burst out of stoppages like he did in the day because otherwise he twings a hammy, he does a quad, anything like, he just turns to dust, which is the next thing on the bingo card for Nat Fife.
Or just
So
spontaneously combusts on field.
exactly right. Yeah. Just gone. Poof. Just a puff of smoke. You're like, where's Fife? Don't worry. It was bound to happen. But yeah, like I just think I could see both sides of the argument, but again, there's only so many guys around that price point, like you mentioned, you can pick. And for me, it's Zach Fisher, who's a higher price point. It's James Jordan around about a similar price
It's a
point.
house weight,
It's a Huswaite. It's a Jack
cheaper.
Billings as well.
Yeah.
It's a Harley Reid even.
It's a harms.
And they all add up. It's a Harms. Yep, exactly right. They all add up, and you can't have every single one of these guys. Otherwise,
The
you're shooting
Riley
yourself in
Bonner.
the foot. The Riley Bonner as well. Exactly right.
You know
So,
what? Actually, at this stage, was between the two of them, I'm probably going Bonner.
yep.
Like, I just don't think I'm going to say this, and I'm going to kick myself when I say it later. I don't think I'm going to be upset if don't pick Fife and he plays okay. Like I
Mm,
just don't think in myself I will be concerned because I'll be thinking even with best 18, I know his score can drop out if it's shit, but you don't
mm.
want like you almost don't want to be like you're gonna have rookies on field. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you don't want to be relying on, oh well, Fife can just have a shit one if he needs to.
yeah,
Like you're gonna have rookies that you don't want to have a shit one.
true.
I personally I wouldn't be going for him. I don't think I get why people are, and I don't have an issue with obviously you do whatever you want with your own team. But for me, no, I'm not going there.
No, no. I did, I'm making progress. I think my therapist, Liam, was like, okay, you can relapse with any sort of addiction. And I think I have with the fife addiction. And I think I've been in denial. And the first step was admitting, Liam, that I had an addiction to Nat Fife. And I relapsed. He was in my team. But I think the progress I'm going to be making is starting the season without Nat Fife. So I can give myself a pat on the
It
back. I can
is just
receive a little
remembering.
coin of being sober of Nat Fife for,
One day.
for a round at least. If I can get one round without Nat Fife being in my team, that's a win until he scores 100 and then I have to trade him back into my team. And
No,
I'm going to be
you do
crawling back to
not
Nat Fife.
need to. Don't chase him. Do not chase him.
He's an addiction, Liam, and I just got to admit it. I'm addicted to Nat Fife.
Hi, my name's Liam, and I'm a
Yeah.
FIFEaholic.
Fiveaholic. Yeah, exactly right.
Oh
What you don't
no!
see is when the cameras are off, Liam, I've actually got Nat Fife. You see, actually, if I peel back Cripper's face behind me on the poster there, it's going to reveal Nat Fife.
Turn on the
Even
blue
Kerno
light,
behind me
the
there.
black light, and there's just all five.
There's five faces around the room. We've got a shrine here off screen to Nat Five. It's going that way. Yeah. But no, he's not on my team. No. No more bets, no more five.
You should make a second team with just five in it, just so that you get your hit without it affecting your
Yeah,
side.
that's true. I might get Ash, the old wife to she's not old actually. That's happening again, Liam. The door's going to be opening again.
Oh,
Just saying the old wife. I put my foot in it. You've called people the good
those
you
people.
people, those people. But I
You
might,
people. That was what it was. I was saying you
yeah,
people.
you people. I mean, you people. But those people is just as bad.
Those people's gonna be
But
worse, let's be honest.
yeah, but I could get Ash to put him in her team, and that'll give me a fix by extension
Mm.
until she says to me that you've ruined my team because a certain bloke by the name of Nat Fife has got injured in the first quarter of the
Has
season.
has had both legs amputated because
He's self-combusted. He's turned to dust.
exactly.
At the quarter time
Anyway,
huddle, he's just in an urn.
let's move on. Let's
Yeah, let's
move on.
move
Poor
on.
Nat Five.
Yep.
Good luck.
All the best, Nat
Good
Five.
luck to the owners.
Good
James
riddance.
Harms. James Harms, 258.3K, mid forward eligible. 46.2 was his 2023 average. He's not getting any better.
Mm.
Has the only one bye playing for the Doggies. Played just the 9 games in 2023 before moving from the D's across to the Doggies. We've seen in seasons gone by that he has the inability to score well with averages of 95.1 in 2019, 87.1 in 2021, and 78.6 in 2022. Did have the 17 touches and 5 tackles in his game against the Hawks with 9 CBAs for a score of 74 from 70% time on ground. So not bad, not bad. Though the question mark that we all have is whether he is going to be bevoed.
Mm. I had it in the back of my mind the whole time I was watching this game, and I was impressed with him, impressed enough. And again, he's that sort of player, like high tackling numbers, provides a nice
Mm.
floor. And that was part of the reason why I was eyeing him off for my team. But again, I'm just worried about being bevoed. When McRae returns, by reports, could potentially start in round one. But being bevoed, it's a high chance for happening. I mean,
Mm.
did you read? I think you mentioned to me because you saw it, but Caleb Daniel being out of favor, just out of the blue. What has he done? We haven't played a game in 2024, and all of a sudden it's come out saying that, oh, Daniel may not play games. He may be out of the team. What are you doing? Like, has he slept with his wife? Like, what is going on?
Has
I just
everyone at the Bulldogs slept with his wife? Like,
maybe we don't want to start rumors, but
I'm not starting rumors, but bloody hell, like, there's not a
maybe he's a
single
swinger.
player in that side that he like likes. Maybe Bond. Maybe
Yeah, apart from
Bond.
Bont, yeah. But even then, Bont has been like camped up forward at various stage, and it's like this guy is a premier midfielder. Put him in your midfield. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not going to start anything salacious, Liam, but they may be swingers, and
Yeah.
maybe she's grown an infatuation with the smaller stature man.
Look, when Team English is taking kickouts like a bloody deer in the headlights, something has to be questioned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's sanity virtually. That's what needs to be
It's like
questioned.
that thing from The Simpsons when he's like,
You know, a town with money's a little like the mule with a spinning wheel. No one knows how he got it, and danged if he knows how to use it.
that was
Yeah, exactly
Team
right.
English playing as a bloody
Like a
kick-out.
mule with a spinning wheel.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good old
Oh.
monorail. I'm fearful that McRae's going to come back in and he's going to be bevoed, and we're going to be made to.
Mm,
Or hopefully by that stage, I think
he's
more
made enough
reports.
cash.
Yeah, McRae's going to be starting potentially round one, but you'd think that they're going to ease him back in. And again, we don't know if McRae's going to be getting more CBAs or as many CBAs as what he did in 2023 because he was bevoed. But maybe all of a sudden he's in the good books and he
I
just
think,
ruins Harms.
yeah, I think he's behind, like Harms for me is behind Billings and Jordan. Similar price points, all three players. I probably have it Jordan, Billings, then Harms for me at this stage.
Yep.
And then Fife after all of that, like at the bottom of the list.
Yep. Not even on the list, but yep.
No,
No, he's on the list.
no, he's not.
But yeah,
But
the rankings.
that's kind of the
spot on.
point. Like I think Harms, I don't think he's a bad pick. And this is where I'm not worried about the three of them. I know it's going to go against what I said earlier about just use, we've got extra trades, just use one of them. But that's where I'm not worried. Like if I start Billings, Billings, Jordan, and Harms doesn't pull off, I can go to, and Fife does, I can go to Fife. Like
True.
that's the benefit here. So I think as long as you're starting enough of these guys, you'll have the ability to move them around.
Exactly. But Lyle Lanley, who came in, maybe he's going to visit the Bulldogs from of course, the monorail and be like, Mr. Beveridge, can I interest you in having a monorail built around Whitten Oval? And he'll get swindled.
He
He'll
will get swindled because it's going to
he's
put
that sort of
Footscray
bloke.
on the on the map.
By gee, puts them on the map. And then he's going
What
to give
other
English a bloody a spinning wheel because he's a mule with a spinning wheel.
Oh, that was anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not an AFL footballer,
Yeah.
but bloody hell, I know what I would do in that situation.
Oh, but I think nonetheless, I think having settled that, Harms presents a bit of upside at his price point. And yeah, if he gets bevoed in season, then it is what it is. But I think from what he's showing at the moment, he looks pretty good and he looks like a startable pick. And I'd
I
much
think
prefer to start him over Fife.
it's his tackles that'll save him. Like that's what will make him. That's what will endear him to a Bevo. Even if I'm just telling myself that, so that I believe it if I say it enough.
Yeah. Well,
anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's about it, I think, Liam, isn't it? In terms of looking down a list here, requests and whatnot of those players that are still relevant. So
obviously we didn't. There was a couple just, I guess, to list off who we didn't chat about. Was Ridley obviously done a hammy quad? Sorry, Windhager was another one. Who broke his hand. Caddy, who didn't feature in any of the preseason games. Don't think will start round one unless there's bloody injuries. And Taverner, I think, was the other one. I just don't think he showed enough to warrant the chat about him. That's it.
Yep, that is it, Liam. Well, before we sign off, where can the good folk, the good people, you people of the Edger community find us?
Yes, if you want to join the Edge community, you can jump onto YouTube and.
Did you say Edge or Edger?
I said, I don't know.
Or
I don't
edged
know anymore.
because you're already there.
Oh my God. I'm losing the plot. On YouTube, search Supercoach Edge and don't forget to like and subscribe. On Twitter, you'll find us at @supercoach_edge, Damon at DamoJ88, myself at Liam Evans _95, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, search Supercoach Edge. And that is where we will be.
Well, you said it almost as well as you did at your wedding, Liam. Fantastic. Almost. Well, that was part of the reason why our subscribers just jumped bloody a whole 100. That makes sense. Should have more weddings more often, Liam.
When you're the groom, people do things when you ask them to do it.
But anyway, Liam, let's sign it off and in terms of looking ahead to what we have in store for our good listeners and viewers, our good Edge community, we do have a wrap up of the official preseason game. So look out for that. We'll be punching that out. And aside from that, that's pretty much it as we head into round 0. I think, best to keep our powder dry. After that, we'll speak obviously about all the big performers, James Jordan, Took Miller, Errol Goulden and the like. Heading into round 0.
Yeah, my boy.
Yep, good old Errol, who may be in my team. He's made his way in. But yeah, heading into round 0, off the back of that, we will be obviously dissecting round 0, but we'll go through all of that when we get there. So, Liam, I will reconvene with you very, very shortly. And until then, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
See you guys.